It's October 16th, 2024. We'll have, if you'll stand for the invocation from our CFO Hannigan and then pledge allegiance.
Eternal God, we pray that you bless this meeting. We are thankful for our Department of Health and the extensive services they provide to the Salem County community. We ask that you help us all work together and have a productive meeting. Hear the special intentions each of us hold in our hearts. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given of this meeting by forwarding notice to the South Jersey Times and Elmer Times Company, and by posting notice on the bulletin board in the Fifth Street office complex, and by filing notice in the offices of the Salem County Clerk and the Clerk of the Board, all having been done at least 48 hours in advance.
Roll call, please.
Director Laurie.
Here.
Deputy Director Ostrom.
Here.
Commissioner Ramsey.
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Timmerman.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Commissioners, what's your pleasure with the minutes?
Mr. Director, I'd like to make a motion that we dispense with the reading of the minutes from the October 2nd regular meeting. And this is an easy one because it's easy for me to subtract 14, 16, and come up with 2. So thank you for that. Anyhow, the minutes are to be received, approved, and recorded in the minute book. I'll second that motion, Mr. Director.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. That's passed unanimous. Special recognition, I'm going to ask if Dr. Ostrom would please bring a proclamation for the October Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
I would be pleased to, Mr. Director. Dr. Timmerman, why don't you join me? So I both involved in women's health care. I've been many years, and I think it's a very important thing for us to acknowledge that. So we read this presentation, where it is estimated that over 310,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year. And 1 in 8 women in America will be diagnosed with the disease in their lifetime. I would add that that's women over 80, so all the numbers don't worry. 1 in 8 of them have breast cancer, but it is certainly a very prevalent disease. And whereas while considerable progress has been made in the fight against breast cancer, it remains the most frequently diagnosed type of non-skin cancer and the second leading cause of cancer deaths among women in our country. Virtually easy and far in the state, women have caused this lung cancer is the most common cancer killer among women. Where the breast cancer awareness was established to educate women about breast cancer and early detection testing, and to promote underwear as an important tool to fight breast cancer. And whereas during National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we stand with our mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends, and we recognize all who are joining their mothers in fighting the battle, as well as the researchers, advocates, and healthcare providers whose care and hard work gives hope to those living with breast cancer. And whether by educating ourselves and supporting innovative research, we will improve the quality of care for all Americans affected by breast cancer, and keep in mind that the risk of male breast cancer by 1/6 women and it is genetically is an predisposition. We hope to one day defeat this terrible disease. Now therefore be resolved that the Salem County Board of County Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of October 2024 to be Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Salem County. We encourage our fellow citizens to become aware of the impact that the breast cancer has on our community and support the fight against this terrible disease. So we'd like to thank the health department. Now we go a little bit extra once again.
Come on up.
My brother, my wife, and my grandmother, we all have to do this. So very close to me and everyone in their group, I'm sure, has a similar story. So thank you for all you do and everything that you do to raise awareness. You can wonderful things because of this very common and all
I'm going to ask the mayor or LAC to come up and the fire chief. And I'm not sure you want the young man to come up with you or. This is Paul Kyer and Justin Falk. You had the opportunity to see you in the parade, awesome parade. Thank you. Wonderfully at LAC. Yes, it was amazing. It was long. It was exciting. Thank you so much. The whole day was great. You came out and celebrated that. It was special to me because my mother is living and she's older than the fire. So she just had her birthday in September. I think you were October or something like that. So, but what a blessing to have you guys out there as volunteers and story the team. Salem County Community volunteers, especially people like you. We appreciate that. We have a proclamation for you. We didn't have it that day, but we have it today. We have to recognize you. Gentlemen, here we go. We got a photographer. Gentlemen, you should step up. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. No problem. No. Probably went, with that.
Yeah. I get you. Mariel, would you mind getting an agenda from back there?
Mayor, we're now going to partake, and I'd like to call it the riveting part of our meeting. So you're welcome to stay, but we understand if you're going to go.
He never lets us leave.
I know. The chief just walked out with my agenda. Oh, did he? It was not his fault. He's trying to tell us something. Commissioners, do we have weird rules?
We have one waiver of the rules. A6, resolution awarding contract to CDWG under Educational Services Commission contract ESCNJA EPA 22G for telephone system service support and maintenance.
Commissioners, can I get a motion to waive the rules for A5?
Mr. Director, I make a motion to waive the rules for consideration of resolution A5.
I'll second that motion. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. A5 is waived. We'll vote on it a little later. Commissioners, what's your pleasure with the correspondence, general, committee, commission minutes, and reports?
Mr. Director, I make a motion that correspondence, department reports, committee and commission minutes be accepted, filed, and made a part of the minutes.
I'll second the motion. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And that is unanimous. Commissioners, what's your pleasure for the payment of bills and claims?
Mr. Director, I'd like to make a motion that all bills and claims, while properly signed and audited, be paid and charged to the respective accounts.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Director. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on bills and claims? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And that's passed unanimous. Commissioners, your pleasure on the treasurer's report.
Once again, sir, I'd like to make a motion that the treasurer's report be received and filed, subject to audit, and that it be spread full and complete upon the minutes. I'll second the motion, Mr. Director.
I have a motion, and I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Passed unanimous. We're going to go through the resolutions for the administrative committee.
A1, resolution awarding a contract for providing off-site inmate commissary services for the Salem County Correctional Facility. A2, resolution authorizing submission of the intent to apply for the New Jersey Broadband Infrastructure Deployment Equity NJBIDE pilot program. A3, resolution appointing members to the Salem County Information Technology Committee, Chance Vandenberg. A4, resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding between the County of Salem and the Pedgertown First Aid and Rescue Squad for the provision of emergency medical services. A5, resolution awarding contract to CDWG under Educational Services Commission Contract ESCNJA EPA 22G for telephone system service support and maintenance.
Commissioners, you've heard the reading of these 5 resolutions. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Director, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt these 5 resolutions. I'll second the motion, Mr. Director.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Passed unanimous. Agriculture and Public Safety.
B1, resolution accepting and executing a grant for the Salem County Sheriff's Office from the Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program 2023. B2, resolution accepting and executing a grant for the Salem County Sheriff's Office from the Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program 2024.
Commissioners, you've heard the reading of these 2 resolutions. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Director, I'd like to make a motion we adopt these 2 resolutions.
I'll second that motion. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Passed unanimous. Health and Human Services.
E1, resolution approving a proposal submission to the Governor's Council on Substance Use Disorder for the Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services Block Grant. E2, resolution authorizing a contract to provide management services for the Salem County 12-hour Intoxicated Driver Resource Center program. E3, resolution authorizing the contract to provide management services for the Salem County 48-hour Intoxicated Driver Resource Center program. E4, resolution to accept additional mid-year funding from the New Jersey Department of Human Services Division of Aging Services for the 2024 Area Plan Grant.
Commissioners, heard the reading of these 4 resolutions. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Director, I'd like to make a motion to adopt these resolutions as read. I'll second the motion, Mr. Director.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And passed unanimous. Public Works.
F1, resolution approving the execution of change order number 3 to the 2019 County Aid Road Program for the County of Salem. F2, resolution authorizing the filing of an application and acceptance and execution of a grant from the New Jersey Department of Transportation for Quaker Neck Road, County Road 657, Phase 2 design, preliminary engineering in Mannington and Alloway Township for the County of Salem, federal project number 0657301, NJDOT job number 7106001. F3, resolution accepting funding for the New Jersey Department of Health Tick Surveillance Program. And F4, resolution approving the execution of change order number 1 to the 2023 Local Aid Infrastructure Fund, Hook Road, County Road 551, reconstruction for the County of Salem.
Commissioners, you've heard the reading of these 4 resolutions. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Director, I motion to adopt these 4 resolutions.
I'll second that motion. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And that's passed unanimous. Chapter 159, insertion of revenue into the budget.
H1, resolution providing for the insertion of any special item of revenue in the budget pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87, Chapter 159, Public Law 1948, 2023 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Sheriff. H2, 2024 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Sheriff. Wow. H3, 2024 Area Plan Grant. H4, 24-25 Tick Surveillance Program, and H5, Fiscal Year 24 STBGP Quaker Neck Road, County Road 657, Phase 2 Design PE.
Since you've heard the reading or the struggling of the reading of these 5 resolutions, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Director, I'd like to take the motion that we adopt these 5 resolutions. I'll second your motion, Mr. Director.
Thank you. I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Commissioners, any old business?
I think we would ask Stacy to repeat best partnership show.
That's new business.
My mistake. Mistake.
Commissioners, any new business? Commissioners, public announcements.
We have a number, Mr. Director, and I know you get upset when they take longer than the rest of the minutes. So I'll parse through them as best we can. A lot of Halloween things going on. There's a flashlight corn maze every Friday and Saturday out at Coon's Barnyard. There are a number of trunk or treats, Pittsgrove, Harmon Park. So take the kid to actually Salem County Rotec has one as well. No one in the county should stay home on tomorrow, which is the 17th, because there's plenty to do. First of all, there is the 60th anniversary Cowboy Hat Gala for Ranch Hope, remembering Dave Bailey, Reverend Dave. So that should be a wonderful event. The Rotec Trunk or Treat is tomorrow. There's Pumpkin Palooza night also tomorrow at Pennsville High School Auditorium. So plenty of things to do on Thursday the 17th. On Friday, there is a 4-H Hook Feast open game show, horseback riding, of course, and that will be at the fairgrounds. Fort Mott Park Association Car Show is Saturday the 19th, as is the Pittsgrove Trunk or Treat at Green Ranch Park. Something that I always forget about, but it comes in very handy Saturday, is the Household Hazardous Waste Day. And this is at Skia out in Welchfield, and it runs from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So any chemicals you have around that you would like to dispose of, that's a good place to go. Moving forward a little bit farther, the Salem Community College Glass Open House for October is Sunday the 20th. We would invite everyone on Monday the 21st to the annual Get to Know Your Candidates event, also held at the college, so that you can hear addresses from the candidates up for election in the county and in the region. The Traveling Woodburys concert in the park at Marlton Park on Thursday the 24th. And even more importantly, on Thursday the 24th, there is a Veterans Dinner honoring Salem County heroes that will be held at Maria's. Tickets are $40 with a cash bar, and by donating an additional $25, another veteran will be able to attend the event. And I think that's where we will stop. Patty's not here to correct me.
Thank you, Doctor. Commissioners, any other public announcements? Just want to remind everybody that our next meeting is, we'll go to public in a second, but our next meeting is after the election. So I want to remind everybody, it's important to get out and vote. Whether you vote early, whether you vote often, wherever you vote, just vote. Get out to your local on election day and cast your vote for those that you seem worthy to assume the position that they're running for. We'll open this public comment. Come forward, state your name, state where you're located, and if you're online, please type your question in, and we'll answer it the best we can.
Hello, good evening. My name is Anthony Delia from 376 Alloway Albion Road in Alloway. The last time I was here was the August 7th, 2024 meeting. And my issue that I'm here to discuss is that in June 2024, the Salem County Road Department moved and or lengthened a guide rail to a position in front of our property that now restricts the free and easy access to my front yard. Mr. Seaver from the Road Department has since declared this case closed, and unfortunately throughout the entire time, seemed to behave as if answering my questions was some great personal inconvenience. Mr. Ramsey, on the other hand, was very helpful. He followed up with visits to my property to take a look at the site, and also made several phone calls giving me updates about some of my questions, so I did appreciate that. Our issue, though, is still unfortunately unresolved. When I first appeared here, we didn't know or realize that the guide rail that now extends across our property boundary was actually moved to the left of its original position by roughly 30 feet and was not necessarily extended by 39 feet as I originally reported. The guide rail existed in the previous location, which was about 30 feet to the right, for at least 40 years that I can recall, since I've been at that property with my family and myself. Maybe more, you know, it could have been there for longer. I don't recall it ever being moved. By coincidence, my neighbor came to my house while Mr. Ramsey was on site. And when he learned about my issue, he actually stated that he was really surprised, quote, very surprised, that the rail was shortened in front of his property and wondering why. He said there's a big drop off there in front of his property. Also that there was an incident there before in front of his property, and it just didn't make any sense that they would move it to my side where it's flat. So generally speaking, I believe that we now understand what the real issue is with the guide rail. Though I feel that I can and have proven that a key requirement of the guide rail length design has been exaggerated to justify an additional length. It's not actually the additional length of the rail that's restricting access to our yard. And I have some detail there. There are 3 conditions that need to be met in order to justify my request to shorten the rail. I was told by the engineers after much back and forth that I did not meet the 3rd condition, which had to do with the average daily traffic and I guess the oncoming requirement for oncoming traffic. And the short of that is that even though a study was conducted, a traffic data study for something called ADT, average daily traffic, numbers were guessed randomly by the engineer. We know that 957 vehicles travel on average past my house on that road. That study was conducted when the rail was designed. And when directly questioned about why they would choose 1,500 to 6,000 vehicles per day in front of my house, the answer was that the study was old, and that's why they picked that number. So there is a discrepancy there. I feel I've met that 3rd condition and proven, it's simple math, that if that 3rd condition is met, the rail should be shortened. Okay. So the problem really is that the rail has moved 30 feet to the left in front of my property and away from our neighbor's property where the actual road hazard exists. If the west end of the rail, the right side, were positioned back to where it was originally, this entire issue goes away. Because even if the new rail design is a few feet longer, it no longer obstructs that part of my property. So I've asked for justification as to why the rail was moved, including specifics about the location of this obstruction on the roadside, right? The obstruction, as I understand it, is that the road dips a little bit by a couple of feet. That's why the rail is there. And how or why the rail was tied to it from a design perspective, right? So the rail is there to guide or to protect against that obstruction. So how did the engineers pin the beginning and the end of the rail to that obstruction on the side of the road? Was that obstruction remeasured or resurveyed during this last, design phase? Were actual measurements taken of the obstruction on the roadside, that required a repositioning of the rail? Did the roadside hazard or obstruction somehow move or change? Thank you. On September 12th, I was told by Mr. Seaver that I would receive a letter from the engineer who designed the rail explaining the changes. I was to receive this letter by end of next week, quote, which was September 20th, 2024, and did not. On September 26th, after a few email follow-ups, I finally got a response from Mr. Seaver saying that, quote, I should have it shortly. I followed up again via email on Friday, October 4th, and received no response. As of today, October 16th, I still have yet to receive an email response from Mr. Seaver or this letter that was supposed to come in the mail that was promised from the design engineer. If the work to justify the repositioning of the rail was completed when it was designed, why is it taking so long to receive this letter? In Mr. Seaver's September email, he again also stated that, quote, the rail design is New Jersey DOT compliant and will stay as is. Again, I am not questioning the rail's engineering compliance with New Jersey DOT road safety standards. In fact, I agree with that statement. The rail is compliant with New Jersey DOT standards. The problem is it's just been moved to the incorrect location and is probably too long. The point that, quote, the rail is NJ DOT compliant has since become the argument that the road department uses to justify not doing anything. For example, wouldn't a house that's built to comply with building codes still need to be moved if it illegally violated someone else's property boundary? You couldn't just say, well, the house meets code, so it can stay where it is. Since I've not received the promised written explanation for the movement of the rail, I'll ask here, why was this guide rail moved away from the roadside obstruction in front of my neighbor's property? In Mr. Seaver's September 26th email, he again restated, if you feel that this is still an error, the county engineer's office is requesting that you contact your own engineering firm to provide a signed and sealed report outlining the errors. Until we receive a formal report prepared by a licensed engineering firm, we are formally closing this file. So, immediately following that email, I replied, and I said, if I take the time and go through the expense of hiring a New Jersey licensed engineering firm to resurvey the area and provide a documented report, and that report proves that the rail needs to be moved or is too long, will the county commit to restoring the rail to its proper location? To date, I have received no answer to that question. So, before I spend the time and money to hire a New Jersey licensed engineer to survey and provide a documented report, will the county commit to moving the rail if the report proves that I am correct? Otherwise, why would I do that? I would have a report that says I'm correct and no guarantee from the county that anything would be done to correct it. Makes no sense. So I understand that this issue may seem like it's not a big deal. This is just a guide rail near the woods on the edge of some road that nobody cares about. I also assume that that's why the guide rail construction crew chose to throw some of their construction debris into our woods, mine and my neighbors. And also why it took several weeks and several emails to finally have the road department come out to clean it up. You know, it's just an inconvenience, they can deal with it. Unfortunately, that doesn't make me wrong or invalidate my argument or my request. That doesn't make it appropriate for Mr. Seaver or the county to ignore this issue under the guise that the rail is, quote, New Jersey DOT compliant and will stay as is. Design compliant does not mean properly positioned or located properly to protect the roadway. I realize that admitting a mistake is difficult and uncomfortable, and I realize that there is a cost associated with making a change. But this is my house. This is my front yard. Ask yourselves, how would you feel if someone made a change like this to your property or that affected your property and brushed it off by just saying it's not that bad, you can live with it? I've used this area of my yard for almost 30 years, and dealing with this rail that now blocks access to my front yard is a real problem for me. I maintain that area of my property. I mow that area of my property. There's constant debris and trash in front of my property. So now mowing, entering and exiting for large trucks, I'm still waiting to get my firewood delivered, is now more difficult. It is now less safe. Because of the way you must enter that part of my front yard. So I've used, so this is a problem that essentially the county is telling me to deal with until I move or until I die, and I don't think that's right. If the road department has closed the case and is no longer responding to any of my communications, and the county is also unwilling to commit to a change if I prove them wrong, what options do I have left as a property owner other than to take some form of legal action? That outcome is unnecessary and wasteful for all of us. I believe that this change is simple, requires minimal expense on behalf of Salem County. This is not a total redo of this guide rail. I would like for the county to acknowledge and own this mistake, shorten the left side of the rail, and add it back to the right side of the rail where it belongs, or provide hard data and a logical argument that says this roadside obstruction that this rail is protecting has somehow changed over the last 40 years. Thank you.
Ed Ramsey addressed a couple of things. I don't think that's your request is extraordinary. I think it's logical that if there's an engineer that is selected and we agree upon that engineer, it can't be arbitrary. It has to be somebody we agree and an engineer that firm that we agree on that can do an independent audit. That yeah, we need to move.
So you commit to that in writing. The county will commit to that in writing.
I've got 4 other commissioners that have to either agree or.
But I would want a written commitment from Salem County,
And that
because a
would
word of mouth is only so good.
That would be fine. It's something you have to pass muster with our solicitor.
I would hire a New Jersey licensed certified engineer. But again, the argument is not whether or not the rail is NJ.DOT compliant. It is NJ.DOT compliant.
But as I agree, if we agree upon this engineer, you and I both, or you and this team, agree on that engineer comes out and finds it should be moved. I see no reason we can't say, well,
If it's put in writing, I would agree to that. However,
put it right now.
I understand that. However, before that happens, we're still missing a real step here, which is, where is the documentation that I was promised that shows why it was moved in the first place?
And that's why Ed Ramsey will be addressing that.
Well, I agree with you 100%. We are waiting on that letter, and I will follow up with the engineer tomorrow morning and insist upon it. And if we have it by no later than next Wednesday.
I would appreciate that. And specifically, I don't want a letter that says it's compliant. I want a letter that says the obstruction is located here or something. And the Oprah request that I did not illustrate in any way, shape, or form the guide rail as it is related to the obstruction on the side of the road. It shows the guide rail pinned to a marker on the road, which is now 30 feet to the left. But it does not illustrate the obstruction. It does not have dimensions of the obstruction. It does not show how the obstruction is tied to the end or the beginning of the rail. It does, it does none of that. It doesn't explain and say, oh, well, for 50 years we were wrong. For 40 years we were wrong. And that rail really wasn't protecting everything it needed to protect. So therefore we had to make a choice to move it. Right? That would be logical.
It would seem that we're all on the same page and agree that what you're asking for is an explanation of why this way.
Correct.
Mr. Ramsey promised that he will get that. I understand you don't want to say it's compliant, but
it is compliant. It will be compliant.
So he will endeavor to get you an explanation of why it was moved, where it is, why it is where it is, and then you can address whether you perhaps with the independent engineer or whatever.
Right. And I trust the engineering firm, honestly, in going over this, and I really have gone through the blueprints, I've gone through the NJ.DOT manual, that's that other point about condition 3. I still believe I'm correct. But I'm willing to set that aside to say, okay, let's say I'm wrong. Then that means that the rail is really only a few feet longer than it was before, if you do the math, right? The difference is it's moved. That's why all of a sudden there's an issue. So I felt like the engineer, and it took some tooth pulling, unfortunately, to get the engineer to show me the map, so I could understand where they were coming from. They finally did, you know? But it doesn't make sense in terms of how the rail was moved or why the rail was moved. So,
I want to move forward, and we'll get you that answer, and we'll, hopefully we can resolve it, not a little bit of support.
I appreciate it.
You presented it very calmly and nicely. Thank you. I appreciate it. You were very, very well
No,
educated.
I appreciate your help. And Mr. Ramsey, I think you were great throughout all this. Again, followed up was great, phone calls. And unfortunately, I got to knock Mr. Seaver a little bit because it's like, I really felt like, I know, I understand, I work for a living. It's extra work. I've got some guy who's nagging, and I gave him an answer, and it's not good enough. And unfortunately, I'm not one to just say, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. I want to know why it's fine. I'm a technical person, I have a technical career. And if I did that to my boss, he'd say, well, how did you arrive at that conclusion? So that's all I really want is facts. So I do appreciate it.
And I can hear about it twice a day. So.
You know, unfortunately, and this, I know this isn't necessarily a formal place, and we do our best to keep our property clean. We're constantly picking up garbage. You know, even since that other debris was there, there is more debris and garbage now behind the sky rail. I mow that area. I keep it clean and clear of trash. And that is another one, it's a minor thing. People are dying in the world, I understand. But when I mow that area now, I can't mow where I used to mow. So I know what's going to happen. It happens on the opposite side that is not my property that I cannot mow. The weeds are growing, right? You can't get in there with a mower now to make a turn. You can't mow the outer edge of the rail now unless I get out my weed whacker and start mowing 40 feet of my neighbor's property, which is a pain in the butt. I've lived there for 30 years, taking care of my front yard. So that's the minor issue for me. Really, it's more about access to my front yard, but I do try to keep that area clean. So again, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else in person would like to address the board? Anyone online? No one online. We do have an executive closed session. It will be short. I estimate probably 10 or 15 minutes. We anticipate no motions or any action when we come out other than adjourning. You're welcome to stay. It's a little cool outside. If you do stay, let us know you're going to stay. We'll come out and get you in your car or whatever. But we'll probably be 10 or 15 minutes and then just. So go ahead.
Resolution authorizing executive session, County of Salem matters relating to litigation, negotiations, and the attorney-client privilege.
We get a motion to go to executive closed session.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you.